insieme.
Here are 10 things you need to stop doing with Season 3 Mercy and 10 things you need to start doing instead. I'm Venta, and with me today is a top 500 Grandmaster Mercy content creator, GulpyTV. I will be talking for Gulpy. Mercy has received a bunch of changes for Season 3, which I'm sure we're all familiar with by now, but let's just go over them really quickly. Her GA cooldown has increased from 1.5 to 2.5 seconds. Backwards GA is 20% slower. Heals per second is reduced from 50 to 45, but if the ally is under half health, healing is increased by 50%. Sympathetic recovery is her new passive. She can now heal herself for 25% of her healing output. There is an undocumented change, which is likely a bug, which is that her health regen during Valk is not increased. Let's start with tip number 1, which is positioning. Positioning around cover is now more important than ever. Previously, we had more options to Guardian Angel out of cover, to quickly beam a teammate, more options on beaming mobile heroes like Genji or Doomfist, but what you should do instead is just play safer and not peek out of cover to beam anyone unless absolutely necessary. With the cooldown of Guardian Angel going from 1.5 seconds to a hefty 2.5 seconds, we are required to play even more selfishly than we did before, making sure that we utilize cover more than ever. On top of that, her new passive change means that her health regen is less consistent, which makes her survivability much harder. So it's not exactly that you should be positioning differently than before, as you always should be positioning around cover anyway with Mercy. It's just that you can take a lot less risks with her GA and passive change. Tip number 2. Using backwards GA as an escape tool. Originally, you could backwards GA to get away pretty reliably, but due to her speed nerf, it might be better to do a reverse slingshot, which is GA then 180 to face the direction you're going. Backwards GA speed has been nerfed, but the slingshot speed remains the same. It can be more beneficial to simply turn the direction you're facing to maintain the speed of your Guardian Angel and escape that way. It's important to note that backwards GA is still a great tool to use to maintain distance from your allies. Personally, I use it to make sure that I'm staying in a position that I like, for instance on the high ground second point of Blizzard World. The bridge here is insane, and as long as you're not being contested, helps a lot with survivability. Tip number 3. Crouch super jumping. For some reason, if you do a normal crouch super jump, it doesn't give you as much height as doing a crouch super jump and slightly looking up. With changes to Mercy's Guardian Angel, you need to make sure that you're utilizing the ability in a smart, conscious way every time. Tip number 4. Spamming Guardian Angel. The days of constantly spamming Guardian Angel is gone. You need to make sure that you're using Guardian Angel in a way that ensures survival. This basically means that you're playing Walking Simulator until you really need to use Guardian Angel. For example, when a Winston tries to dive you. I like to GA right before the impact of the jump, which lets me avoid his impact damage and gets me the heck out of there. On top of not spamming Guardian Angel, it's also super important to be canceling Guardian Angel as soon as possible. For toggle Guardian Angel users, you will struggle even more with the GA changes because every second of not canceling Guardian Angel matters even more now. Remember, for toggle Guardian Angel off, you can cancel Guardian Angel by simply letting go of the shift key. But for toggle Guardian Angel on, you cancel Guardian Angel by pressing the Guardian Angel button again. Therefore, you could be wasting precious time by having to have a second input to cancel Guardian Angel as opposed to simply letting go of the shift key. Tip number 5. Valk is more viable as a defensive ultimate. Sort of. We all know the bad habit of only healing in Valk. Let's not forget that Mercy's utility still comes from damage boost, and mass damage boost is still insane for winning team fights. But now with Mercy's Valk healing receiving a buff, we do have more options of using mass healing over mass damage boost. In Valk, Mercy heals at 90 heals per second on targets below 50 HP. This makes Valk an insane ultimate against things like Zarya grab as long as they have little follow-up, or as we see in this Neandra clip against Bob where Mercy can tank an entire ultimate. So while mass damage boost is still super valuable, there are more opportunities now to out-heal damage in Valkyrie. Tip number 6, the regen passive. It's time to stop relying on her old regen passive and instead rely more on your second support and making sure that you're in their line of sight. Her new passive, which means that she can heal herself for 25% of the healing done to the target, is pretty niche and not something that you can rely on all the time. So making sure that your second support can heal you is super important. Tip number 7, GAing to a soul to res. We're all used to GAing to a soul and then resing. It might be better now to wait for enemies to clear away from the soul and simply walk to the soul. Res cast time is 1.75 seconds and GA is 2.5 seconds. This means that when you res, you're essentially stuck until Guardian Angel comes back on cooldown. So saving your cooldown until after you res could be essential to your survival. Tip number 8, GAing into the air. Originally, you could permafly and stay in the air for a long time. That's really not an option now, and it's more important to play around cover and line of sight of your second support. Super jumping is still viable, but far more risky and niche. Super jumping in the air basically makes you stagnant in the air for 2.5 seconds. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it can make or break a game. It's much better to use super jump as a repositioning tool, much like backwards GA. Tip number 9, Valk timing. You may be used to Valking at low health to regen your health fast. Due to the undocumented Valk health changes, it's better to Valk when you need a GA reset as opposed to when you're low HP. Valk doesn't speed up your health regen, but it does reset the cooldown of your Guardian Angel, which is even more important now. If you find yourself in a bad position and you just use GA, you can Valk, get Guardian Angel again, and get out safely. Tip number 10, pocketing. The bad habit has always been to not pocket targets. Make sure that you still are pocketing targets. Pocketing is still Mercy's strongest ability in Overwatch. Making sure that you pocket a target is incredibly good, especially with the new Mercy changes. A target can pretty much never die as long as Mercy is beaming them the entire time. Utilizing damage boost as well as healing the target when they become low, especially with a new healing increase, is stronger more than ever. Depending on the situation, if you're trying to spread your heals throughout multiple teammates and juggling them to keep them above half health, it can be detrimental. You're missing out on a lot of damage boost opportunities and preventing yourself from healing the target faster. Now it's time for thoughts, opinions, and suggested changes. My biggest argument against the Mercy changes is the fact that the regen is gone. I know a lot of people dislike the GA changes, which I agree feel clunky, but the regen is something that I'm noticing a lot more. For example, in higher ranks, I'm being dove a lot more, and with the new passive, I'm not able to regenerate my health in the way that I was before. This is because if they're diving and targeting Mercy, and her target isn't taking any damage, her new passive can't be utilized. However, I still don't think Mercy is as bad as people made it out to be. I think she's stronger than before, but just less fun to play. With the argument that damage boost is still broken and the new healing changes, Mercy is still a very good pick in all ranks, but with that being said, if she's being dove again and again, good luck. I think they should revert Mercy back to the Overwatch 1 movement. It was interactive, fun, and not too broken. My suggestion for dealing with damage boost is to take the damage modifier out of the equation and instead increase the percentage of ultimate charge the teammate and Mercy gets from the damage boost. This will place more emphasis on ultimate economy and give a Mercy a place in ranked at all times. I do think it would be awesome to see damage boost only in Valkyrie, making Valkyrie an even more impactful powerful ultimate. As for me, I played Mercy for her movement. If I wanted to play a walking simulator with strong heals, then I never would have picked Mercy in the first place. I don't think we should revert back to Overwatch 1 Mercy movement, but I'd honestly rather have Overwatch 1 movement over this massive nerf to her movement. Mercy just isn't as fun anymore, and it just really sucks. I know Blizzard is trying to nerf Mercy's impact, but this isn't really the way to go. Her movement change doesn't drastically decrease her survivability because most people are playing around cover anyways. It mainly just makes it super annoying for Mercy players, and the healing buff makes it annoying for players to play against her. I think it's really interesting that they're playing around with this healing change, and it brings a lot more dynamic to her kit, but I do really wish that things like this were experimented with more before it hits live. The experimental tab is there for a reason. I think that they should use it for more than joke patches and actually listen to player feedbacks on huge changes like this. Since the start of Overwatch 2, Mercy has been through a ton of changes. It's annoying to have to adjust your playstyle so often on what is meant to be the game's most accessible hero, and despite all of this, still have the devs not listen to what Mercy players or non-Mercy players want. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Mercy. Thank you Gulpy so much for the collab, and thank you for watching this video and for supporting me. I'm gonna be streaming on Twitch and on here, so if you want to stay updated, join my Discord. Thank you.